Welcome back. So we have spent a lot of time together talking about connection, creating security, and now we will be talking about meaning, right? We're going to be talking about you and your sacred story. Who are you in the aftermath of this very traumatic experience that you've gone through in your life? So before we talk about writing our sacred stories, let's talk a little bit about post-traumatic growth and what that actually means, okay? So in the aftermath of a traumatic event, we are forced to think differently about our lives, our beliefs, ourselves, and the people around us. The crisis that is external forces an expansion inside of us. For many of us, it completely destroys the psychological, spiritual houses that we live in, how we see the world, make meaning, right? It just crumbles that, and we have to rebuild from scratch, and that takes time, right? And so part of this, part of the byproduct of traumatic experiences is growth, right? It's inevitable. And this growth is not the same as resilience. Again, resilience is bouncing back. Growth is expansion. It's transformation. And so, when we think of post-traumatic growth, we think of a changed self-perception, self-view. How do I see myself? How do I see relationships and their place in my life and my place in their life, right? We have a changed philosophy of life, a deeper sense of spiritual and existential sense of being. So what I want you to do is pause this video for a moment or a few moments and refer to your workbook in your PDF. There are some questions about post-traumatic growth and what it looks like in your life right now. I want you to take some time and just journal them out. Read the questions and ask yourself, how have I experienced this? How have I maybe not experienced this and want to experience this? And see where you're at. Just name it. The questions that don't apply to you, leave them alone for right now. And after that, what we will do is we'll talk about writing your sacred story. So just like we have a biological blueprint for development in our genes, there is a blueprint for our spiritual and psychological development. This blueprint or pattern is innate to us, okay? We see it come to life in the stories we tell, the movies we watch, the books we read. The pattern is the beginning, the muddle or the conflict, and the end or the resolution, right? Birth, death, and rebirth. So we see this in all the stories we tell, right? And these could be little stories throughout the day. This could be the story of me driving home from work, right? There's a beginning, right? I'm going home from work. A conflict. Oh, I'm in traffic for a long time. And a resolution. I listened to a great podcast and learned something, right? And so we see this in micro moments of our life, and we also see this in the big moments of our life. Traumatic deaths, losses, heartbreaks, loss of dreams, loss of ideas, loss of our functioning. And so one of the ways that we can use this blueprint for life is to start paying attention and identifying its pattern in our current season. And so Atkinson likes to call it's a type of archetype for living and for transforming. And so all of life is about growth and transformation. With that said, it is a choice in which direction we grow and transform, right? We can't choose to not grow. We will grow or change. We will change. But change can go in a, let's just say, an unhealthy direction, or change can move into a transformative direction. This is where our attention is very important because our body follows our attention, right? And so your attention will determine your path, right? Where you move forward. So a good question to ask yourself is, how has this pattern shown up in my life before this great loss, right? What are some examples of this pattern in your early childhood or adolescence? So I would say this is a good time for you to pause this video and go to your PDFs, and I have some questions about how to kind of identify this pattern in the different seasons of your life. Once you start seeing this pattern, it becomes a little more obvious and as far as like most of the areas of your life. And so why do we want to be identifying this pattern? Because it's a sort of like map for us seeing more clearly and asking ourselves, like, where do I go from here? What do I do next? What should my next steps be, right? So pause this video, go ahead and look at the questions in the PDF, fill them out, take some time to see what comes up for you, and just come right back. So let us talk about perspective now. I want you to take a deep belly breath, close your eyes. Now that you've kind of thought about this pattern, this blueprint in your life, I want you to listen to this quote from Robert Atkinson from his book, The Gift of Stories. Transformation is as much a matter of the ship finding its safe harbor as it is the safe harbor taking in its ship. Both are transformed in the process. It is the human journey to wholeness that the archetypical pattern is about. You can find this on page 35 of his book. So what do you think this statement means? How have you been the ship in your life? How have you been the harbor in your life? I want you to pause this video again and refer to your workbooks and take some time to really ask yourself, when have I been the ship and what was that experience like for me? And have I ever been the harbor and what was that experience like for me? How have these experiences transformed me? So we are going to take some time now and write about the story of our suffering through the language of this pattern. What I want you to do is I want you to find a quiet space anywhere and give yourself maybe 90 minutes, maybe more to do this, okay? And what I want you to do is refer to the specific worksheet I have attached to this segment that will walk you through step by step. And it will ask you very specific questions about your perspective of being the ship and your perspective of being the harbor. So have fun, and I will see you when you come back from that practice. Okay, now that you have taken some time to write from your perspective of the ship and your perspective of the harbor, we're gonna move into some more writing. And so hang in there. A lot of folks, this is kind of where, they give up. And the reason for that is because this is when we focus on us and our story, right? And so what I would say is, you deserve it. You deserve your attention, and you deserve your time, and you deserve your calmness and your regulated body to really look at your story. So the next exercise, it's going to take also maybe a couple hours for you. And so if it feels a lot, I would pause for today and then resume this segment tomorrow or another day. So what we're going to do now is take our story and turn it into a personal myth. A personal myth, what is it? We all experience archetypical themes in our life. Atkinson says that at our essence, we are like all other human beings. And having the ability to tell our personal myth is sharing something timeless and eternal with our collective loved ones. Okay? This personal myth is a story told within the framework of beginning, conflict, and resolution. There's a beginning, right? A beginning looks like something happens, right? Something forces your attention, shocks you. It's a call to an adventure. It could be a dark adventure or it could be a fun adventure. In The Lord of the Rings, Frodo's beginning was, when he realized, there's a ring and there's a lot attached to it, and I need to now take this journey to the fires of Mordor to throw this ring over, right? Which would be his resolution in some ways. And so the framework of beginning, conflict, and resolution, I want you to start thinking in that way, and start thinking also about the dark night of the soul, or the valley in the shadow of death, and what that has looked like for you. Ultimately, you're the hero of your journey. You're the hero of your story. And the hero experiences a lot along this journey. And the hero meets guides, and the hero meets villains, and the hero learns skills, and the hero learns tools, and the hero gets wounded, and the hero needs rest, right? And so what you want to start thinking about is yourself as the hero in this journey, in this story that has kind of unraveled in your life. And so there are unique elements that make up a personal myth, and you will have some time to use your story to turn it into a personal myth. Okay? So there are 3 major archetypes: separation, also known as birth; initiation, also known as death; and return, also known as rebirth. Each of these archetypes have their own smaller elements called motifs. And there are 3 parts of writing your personal myth. I have a worksheet attached for you that I want you to refer to, specific to this part. This is going to be writing your self-narrative, okay? So what I want you to do is, now I want you to pause this or stop this segment, because we are done with this segment, and I want you to refer to the worksheet. It is a very long worksheet, and it may take you several hours, and if that is too long, it may take you several days. So what you can do is work on each segment of the worksheet one piece at a time, right? Again, it might be tempting to just skim over this part. I wouldn't. It is a beautiful part, and it will help you create your own personal myth, your own story of resilience that has been forged in the fires of traumatic loss, right? Give yourself that. And what we will do in the next segment is we'll talk about our moral compass. So take some time to do this. I have attached some resources to the worksheet to help you with this, and I will see you in the next segment.